All right, it's the Morning Brew with Friends, and we are surrounded by some awesome cakes. This is Queneesha of Q's Cakes. This is awesome. Thank you for bringing these in. These are really cool. What do we have here? I know it's like wedding cake season. This is when people are ordering their cakes, wanting to get stuff together. So these are just some of the amazing cakes we can get. Like, how much of this is edible?
All of it actually is edible.
That's
yes,
amazing.
that's all fondant. The only thing that, one thing that isn't, just a little stem right there, but everything else is edible.
And these are fondant.
Yes, that's fondant.
And what's the difference between that and icing?
Okay, so fondant is kind of like a mix of sugar. Some people use marshmallow. I use marshmallow with mine. And buttercream is just butter, your powdered sugar, and vanilla. So fondant kind of gives it that smooth look, whereas buttercream, you can manipulate it a little bit more to give it texture like this one.
How do you learn to even do that? That's amazing. I hope that our camera guy can swing in and see some of the detail on this, because it is just, the flowers on that, it's just nuts. How do you learn that? Is there classes? Is it just years of practicing?
You know, I'm self-taught for the most part, and I just watch videos online and try different things. So I never really was into the decorating part of it. I really enjoyed baking cakes. That's the part that I love more than anything. But then people do kind of eat with their eyes first. So then I started to, you know, get into the decorating and making things look really pretty and taste good as well.
So how did you start your cake shop?
So I started back in 2009. I was renting a commercial kitchen space. I had been doing cakes for friends and family, and they kept telling me you should do it. And so I took that step of faith. And I was doing it on the side for a long time. And then in 2013, I was voted a top 5 bakery by Albuquerque, the magazine readers, without having a bakery.
That's the best.
So that was, you know, tricky, because I'm trying to explain to people, well, you know, I deliver. And so that was the push to go ahead and get the bakery started.
Very cool. So was that was the big impetus for you to say, okay, I'm going to do this?
Yes, yes.
Very cool. Do you have a lot of employees now? Or
I
is this
do.
A solo shop? Yeah?
I do. I have 3 employees right now, and they're great.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? And you're saying this is a chalk cake?
Yeah, so that's one of the new kind of trends in the cake world, the chalkboard cakes. And I did a couple different techniques on it. The bottom one, they have actually an edible food gel that you can use to paint with. And then the top one, I used, you know, the candy melts that you can get from Walmart or whatever that Wilton makes. I used that to draw the love on it. And then in the middle, I just put like a small little section, because some people like the whole cake to be the chalkboard look, and some people just like pops of it. So I gave you a couple different options right there.
Very cool. And then what is this one? The flower on the top is just intense.
So that's an all buttercream cake, and it's made to look like a rose. So from the side, it looks very, you know, frilly and with ruffles. But then if you look from the top, you'll see that it looks exactly like a rose.
Very cool. So I know that this is like wedding cake season. This is when people come to you and say, I need like an 18-tier cake with like, what's the largest, tallest, biggest cake you've ever made?
Okay, so the biggest cake that I ever did, it was for about 250 people.
Wow.
The bottom tier.
How many people would, like, say this one serve?
So this one serves about, we figured this one serves about 70.
Okay, so it's like 3 times as big as this one.
Yeah.
That's a ton of cake.
Yeah, the bottom alone was 16 inches around.
Wow.
It was and so I had to assemble the cake there on site, because there was no way, because it was 4-tiered on top of the 16.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
Yeah, it was huge.
Now, that's always the thing I've always wondered about, is how do you even transport a cake like that? You know,
Very carefully.
You have like special cake transport, like a cake transport van with like...
Well, I have a van, and so I use that, and then we use the non-slip pads to make sure the cake doesn't shift, boxes, and just driving really slow turns. I always tell people the hardest part isn't the baking or the decorating, is getting it there in one piece.
Right.
And once I do that, I'm good.
Have you had any mishaps?
I had one.
Oh.
I had one.
Oh.
And it was... Yeah, it was hard, but great. Thankfully, the couple was so amazing. They were excited. They were fine. They thought it was hilarious.
Right.
And so what we do is we have these different cakes on display, just in case, God forbid, something happens. We can have a cake for you to have at the wedding. So what we did was we gave them this one. They put their topper on it, so it was kind of the one they took the pictures with, but they still were able to serve our cake for their guests. Yeah.
These are cupcakes too.
And these are cupcakes I brought. I brought some different flavors: vanilla, chocolate, red velvet, coconut cream, hummingbird, and strawberry.
Excellent. So were you always a cake baker, or what did you do before you did cake baking?
No, I was in the military. I was in the military for about 10 years, and then I worked at Sara Lee. I did accounting for them, and then before I opened the store, I was at Sandia National Labs.
So you had no like professional baking experience before.
No, I've just been baking ever since I can remember.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Was it a thing that like you and your mom sat around and baked together, like, or what was it?
Yeah, so my grandmother, she had a bag of flour, and on that bag was a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. So I went and took my allowance, and I got all of the ingredients, and then I made the cookies and took them to all my friends in the neighborhood, and that was kind of the start. So even now when I reconnect with friends from back then, they remember me making cookies and different things from when I was younger. So,
I love it.
yeah.
Are we gonna be able to eat some of these?
Of
in a little
course,
bit?
you
Like one
have
of these?
to.
What is this here?
So these are our stuffed pretzels. They're stuffed with Trader Joe's cookie butter and dipped in chocolate.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to eat that. Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're back in a couple of seconds. We're gonna figure out more about how you do this. We're gonna talk about everything here. See how
Exactly.
millennials like cakes too, huh?